Stay on the beach, the place to be. All the tips and ways to make the first.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. I have seen this conference on Twitter every year for the past many years, and I've always said, I want to go there. That looks amazing. And I'm finally here. So thank you so much to the organizers and everybody for bringing me. All right, let's talk about Google Analytics 4. So in 2022, in October, just before I was going to speak at Brighton SEO, I did a poll on Twitter and I asked, hey SEOs, how do you feel about Google Analytics 4? And somewhat surprisingly, the opinion was not terrible. 33%, the most people said it was somewhat positive of an opinion. And 43% overall had a positive or a love it opinion. Now, I redid this poll about 10 months later prior to the US version of Brighton SEO, asking the exact same question with the exact same answers. And you guys hated it. 45% of people who responded said that they hate Google Analytics 4, specifically SEOs. What is the problem, guys? Clearly, I'm speaking to a tough crowd here, so I will do my best to try to move you up that curve just a little bit. All right, we're going to talk about 3 reasons why you should actually love Google Analytics 4. I'm going to give you 3 quick tips, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. Okay, I know, tough sell, but why you should love Google Analytics 4. So the first reason is that I think that Google Analytics 4 actually makes your data analysis easier. Now stick with me. I know that's not the common opinion. So the first thing is it actually collects more data out of the box than Universal Analytics did. So here's one example. This is called Enhanced Measurements. And this is a feature that's on by default when you install Google Analytics 4, and it collects things like scroll tracking and outbound clicks and things that generally took a lot of additional implementation previously and are now being done out of the box for you. So I think this is a huge win for democratizing more data, especially for smaller businesses that don't have a lot of dev resources. Next, default channel groupings, they have more granularity. In Universal Analytics, I think there was something like 11 or 12 default channel groups. Google Analytics 4 actually increased that number out of the box to 18. So Google heard your feedback. They said, okay, we were going to do things like organic social and organic video and split things out a little bit more granularly. And if that's still not good enough for you, don't worry, you can do custom channel groups. Another complaint specifically from SEOs that Google heard, and when I say Google, I used to be at Google. I was there for almost 7 years on the Google Analytics team. The last almost 5 years I've been running my own consultancy, but as a former Googler, I heard a lot of this feedback. I took it back to the teams. There was only so much I could do, but so many people complained that Google Analytics did not classify all search engines. Specifically, DuckDuckGo was constantly brought up. So Google Analytics 4 now classifies DuckDuckGo as organic traffic. Yay! I really like real-time in Google Analytics 4, specifically this card down here, event count by event name. So if you click into this, if you click into any event name, it'll actually allow you to see all of the parameters that are collected with that event, and then you can click into a parameter name and see the actual value that is collected with that parameter. This is really great for actually checking that things are working the way that you want them to. Great for debugging, so I love this feature. And then finally, this one's a bit late. It launched 2 weeks ago, but you can finally change the month, day, year visualization of charts in Google Analytics 4. So big win, many years in the making for that one. Okay. So the second reason why I think that you should love Google Analytics 4 is customizations. Now, customizations allow you to really build any report that you want in Google Analytics 4, and not just build it, but put it in the left-hand navigation so anybody in your organization can look at that custom report that you built. Now, I cannot stress enough, this is huge. You could never do anything like this before in Universal Analytics. So I personally find this very exciting. Hopefully you do too. And let's take a look at how it works. So here is a landing page report in Google Analytics 4, another later edition. I know some of you know that. But if you want to customize this report, you can go up to the upper right-hand corner and click that little pencil icon. This will take you to a customization screen. On the right, all the things that you can customize. And if we click in here to report filter, I can add a filter to this report. And in this case, I'm going to include that session default channel group is organic search. Now, what I have just done is I have created an SEO landing pages report. Now, let's look at that. It took me all of 15 seconds to create this. You can see just how. So adding that filter, searching for my dimension name of session default channel group. I'm going to select the value as organic search, hit OK, apply it, and then I'm going to save this report as new. Now note that there's actually two options. If you save the changes to the current report, that'll update the live report. Save it as a new report, it's a net new report in your account. And now I have this awesome SEO landing pages report that I've published to my left-hand nav. So why? Why do you want to do this? Well, you've taken out the need to use your secondary dimension just to filter for organic search, right? This is already organic landing pages. So now you can use that secondary dimension for additional analysis without having to go deeper into Explore or some other tool. So you can add a secondary dimension, this case country, and I can look at my SEO landing pages broken out by country very easily from just the report in the left-hand nav. Now, that's great, but if I want to organize all of these reports that I'm creating so that other people can easily find them, what I need to do is create things called collections. Now, you have to be an admin for this on the account, so if you don't have admin access, you won't see this, but down in the left-hand nav on the bottom, there's a thing called library, and you go over to library and you can create collections. Now, I've created one called Krista's Faves, and this is all of my favorite reports, things that I use most commonly, so I have quick access to all of the reports that I use. So you can see that SEO landing pages report we just created and a bunch of others. Just released, I think, a week or two ago now. If you're a 360 customer, anyone here use GA360? No? Okay, you guys don't care then, but there's this cool new feature that allows you to segment down a collection to just a specific user group. It's called user-assigned collections. So if I created my US top reports collection there, and then I went to edit it, I could choose the users that have access, choose just the ones that I want to see those reports, and now I have a user-assigned collection just for those people. Okay, the third reason to love Google Analytics 4 is that Explore actually has some really cool features. So Explore is essentially a deep dive analysis tool in Google Analytics 4. The table report, which is the freeform report, it's kind of like a table report on steroids. You can add a ton of dimensions, a ton of metrics. It's really cool. And there are a lot of other techniques available too. Now, I am a little bit biased on this. I'm going to tell you how much I love Explore. When I was at Google for the last few years, I was a product manager. I built a lot of what you see in Explore. So biased, but I love it. If you hate it, tell Google because I don't work there anymore. Cool. So this is the exploration gallery. You can see all of the different templates that you have access to, all the reports you have made, and then you can get into a report. But before that, just backing up a little bit, this is also recently added. Any report that you're looking at in the standard nav, you can actually go up to the button in the upper right-hand corner that says export this report to analysis, which is kind of funny because analysis was the old name of Explore before they renamed it. I don't know why they kept that. Probably an oversight. But if you click it, it will open this report in Explore for you. So you don't have to recreate it. You can just start building on top of it. So let's say you're in a standard report and you do some analysis and you see an anomaly or something interesting and you want to dive deeper, you click that button. It'll open it up in Explore with everything you already had applied, and you can continue to dive deeper. Funnels. So I really like funnels. These are a great way to measure the various actions going on in your site, whether that is an e-commerce store and you're trying to get people to buy an item, or you have a lead gen site and you want to get people to sign up for a form. You can track how they're doing through different steps. So with funnels, you can add up to 4 segments. So here you can see I've got 3 segments going on to look at how different audiences are going through my funnel. So I'm looking at my organic traffic versus my direct versus my email traffic. And email, I get a lot of people coming to my site from my email list, some of them going to my Academy site. So this is my business website, and then I have a site where I sell Google Analytics courses, so they go to my Academy site, and then they add to cart. And I know as a marketer that people who are coming from my email list and going to my Academy site to look at my courses are probably more qualified than people coming direct or from organic traffic or from some other sources, right? They have self-selected already, knowing who I am to come. And so if I want to say, of the people that came there but dropped off before they added to cart, create a segment of those people that dropped off. Create a segment from the abandonment. So I just right-clicked on the cell that I was interested in. Now I can create a segment of them, and I can remarket to them. Or I can use that segment to analyze that group of users across other actions on the site. You can also save a report that you've made of a funnel in your library to publish it to your left-hand nav. So here's my funnel again, and I've done this in Explore, but not everybody uses Explore. It's a little bit harder to use and just a little bit more advanced. And so if this report was in the regular reporting interface, more people might be able to use it, right? So you can do that. So save it as a report in your library, give it a name, calling it my Academy funnel, and then I'm going to publish that to my left-hand nav. So now it's over here in my standard UI. That's pretty cool. So create funnels to your heart's desire and push them out so everybody in your organization can see them. All right, pathing. Now this one really was my baby. I created this one from scratch. So again, if you don't like it, tell Google. If you like it, tell me after. This one's really cool because you can actually see how people are going through different sites, different URLs or different events on your site. I like to think of this as, do you remember the old user flow reports in Universal Analytics? Did you like those reports in Universal Analytics? Right answer, right answer. Those were terrible. When I became a product manager on Google Analytics, I told my boss, who was the director of all PM for GA, and I was like, those are the worst reports. Why do we have those? And he was like, hey, I created that report 10 years ago. He's like, but it's okay, I know it's bad. I'm like, great. He's like, your job is to replace it. And I was like, oh shit, why did I say that? And so I had to think about how to make that better. So we came up with this concept of pathing where you could, click on the node and expand it and see the next step that people took. And you can break it down. So I'm breaking it down by country to see, on the bottom I have a legend of all the countries that are coming, per page. And I can hover over one of those and actually see the breakout of the path for that country. Or this is advice category breakout. I can hover over one node in particular and see how that one node will break out. Pretty cool. You can also segment this. So now I've segmented this down to just my organic traffic to see how those paths are going through my site. Now, little known feature in pathing, pretty hidden, sorry about that. If you click that Start Over button in the upper right-hand corner, whoop, too fast, you get a blank screen where you can start over, and you can choose not just a starting point, but an ending point for your path. So you can actually path backwards. And you can do this from something that is like a jumping off point, right? So if I'm an e-commerce site and I'm trying to get people to purchase, doing a checkout event is probably not super useful because they're going to path backwards through shipping and adding to cart. But if you start from add to cart, you can see what were the steps that actually drove somebody to add something to their cart. Now that's pretty useful, right? So for my site in particular, let's look at that. I'm going to choose an event name as an ending point. And I'm going to choose that they did an outbound click. So this is from my blog site going over to my business site. So, what was it that drove people to go over to that site? Let's look at the pages they were on. Maybe there's certain pages that actually entice people more to go check out the services I offer. And I can continue to click back through there to see what those steps were. All right, so those are 3 reasons why I think that you should love Google Analytics 4. Hopefully there's a little bit more love in the room now. Let's look at 3 quick tips. All right, tip number 1. Ooh, detail reports have a ton of detail, but that wasn't the myth. There we go. GA4 is missing a ton of reports. One of the biggest pieces of feedback that I have heard since GA4 launched was, where are all of my reports? Universal Analytics had 150 plus reports in the left-hand nav. It might have been a little overwhelming for some, but other people were like, it had every report that I needed. So my tip for you is, again, detail reports have a ton of detail. Are a couple of reports in the left-hand nav specifically called detail reports. There's one for tech details, and demographic details. And these actually hide a whole lot of reports in them. So there you go, right there and here. So the tech details report actually has 10 reports hidden in one. So if you select the primary dimension dropdown, you can change between, it defaults to browser, but go to OS device category, whatever you want there. So it becomes a much more useful report for you. You might have been used to that device category report, in your left-hand nav. If you really want it, you can still create it through customization and add it to your left-hand nav. I personally did that, so I get it. And then the demographic details report combines 7 reports in one table. So this is where all of your reports have gone. They're still there. They're just hiding to make it a little bit more streamlined. Okay, number 2, acquisition reports are so confusing. So Google Analytics 4 actually has 2 types of acquisition reports. Universal Analytics just had your acquisition reports, right? It was source medium and campaign and channel, and it was all based on the session. Google Analytics 4 has 2. They have what's called first user and traffic. Traffic weirdly named that because it's actually session. So user acquisition is the first campaign source or medium that somebody had when they landed on your site. So this is essentially first touch. And then traffic acquisition is the campaign source or medium that they had then every time for that session that they came. And that's going to be closest to what you had in Universal Analytics. So if you're looking for more of a one-to-one, that's the one to use. But really cool, you can use them together. So I like to put session source medium, so that's the traffic acquisition ones, as my primary dimension, and add first user source medium as a secondary dimension, so I can see for this session, where did people come from, and how did I first come to my site? Like, what was the first thing that brought them here? How did they come back? And then I just filtered this down to organic, so I can see all the different things. People came from Simo Hava's blog, or they came from different search engines, or Twitter, or Aleda's email, various things. So a really cool way to see kind of that acquisition user journey for people. All right, so number 3 is that GA4 doesn't have views. Now this is true, GA4 doesn't have views. It is a big pain in the butt for many, many people. I know you probably used views for things like country, filter down to just my country view of data or my specific team's view of data. So GA4 doesn't have views, but they do have report collections and filters that you can get view-like functionality from. So let's take a look at an example. So again, views were used in GA4 for data governance and filtering and cleansing. You had spam traffic, you filtered it out, you started a whole new view. That kind of actually sucked because then your historical data was separate from your current data. All right, so in GA4, we're going to go back to that customization screen, use those report filters, and here I'm going to do a country view of data. So I'm going to click country, I'm going to filter this down to US data and apply that, and I'm going to save this report as a new report. I'm going to call it my US-page path report. And I'm going to do this for all of the reports that are meaningful to me or meaningful to my US marketing team that they want to analyze. And then I'm going to put all of those reports together in a collection. And here in my left-hand nav, publish that. So it's now my United States collection with all of the reports that my US marketing team might need. You can do this for anything, right? For your product team, for your specific marketing team, specific countries. Just remember that everybody who has access to the property will still have access to all of these collections unless you're a 360 customer and can use user-assigned collections. All right. I will leave you with a couple of recent launches in Google Analytics 4. So what is new? This is like approximately the past 4 to 6 months. Saved comparisons. This is pretty big. Saved comparisons is kind of the name of what segments are in the standard reporting UI, and up until very, very recently, like 2 weeks ago, you couldn't save these. So if you created a segment and you wanted to use it across multiple reports or use it the next time you came back, you had to recreate it. So yay, there's now a segment library. Then we have user-assigned collections. We talked about those. Day, week, month in the charts. We talked about that. You can open almost any report in Explore. You can export almost any report to Google Sheets. They renamed conversions to key events, kind of confusing for some people. They also got rid of the conversions, now key events report in the left-hand nav. I don't like that, but all right. Create a funnel in Explorer, publish it to the reporting UI. Audience export API. This is huge if you're trying to target audiences in other tools. Improved in product help. All right. I'll leave you with new courses are coming out on Analytics Academy, so if you want some free GA training, Google is releasing them. I'm not a Googler anymore, but I do still help them on things like this. And of course, if you need help, tons of great blog content out there. I hope all of this leaves you as excited as my 1-year-old was for cake on his birthday. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Any questions for Krista? Now's the time. Over there. Let's go.
Hi, Krista. So I have an issue with GA4 nowadays, which is module data and users that so I only work with NGOs, and some of the NGOs don't have a lot of traffic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they don't qualify for moduling data.
Yep.
And Portugal is quite a small country, so yeah, that happens a lot. And I'm finding harder and harder to sell GA4 and keep GA4 versus an on-premises tool. Why should we in small companies keep working with GA4?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think that's
fair question. I would turn it back on you a little bit. If you're not collecting their data and you're needing modeled data, it's because people are not accepting, privacy or cookies or something like that, right? So they're telling you they don't want to be tracked. So no other tool is really going to help with that. So I don't know if it's really an either or, right? Whether it's Matomo or GA4 or something else, that's kind of a consent issue if you're not able to collect enough data. Modeled data is a nice feature in GA4 if you have enough data to actually meet the thresholds, but you do have to have those thresholds. They don't publish exactly what they are, but I want to say it's like 100 or 1,000 conversions within a time period, something like that. So kind of a roundabout way, but I don't know that it's you can't use modeling, so don't use GA4, right? If you don't have the data or the amount of traffic, I don't think any other tool is going to give you that visibility either.
Can I have another quick one? So, do you think we'll ever see the difference between what's moduled and what's not moduled in GA4?
I mean, I have asked this question myself to the PMs at Google. I would say that there's hope that they might indicate a little bit more about what is and what isn't, but I wouldn't say that we're ever going to get clear visibility into that, right? Because Google sees that as their secret sauce. So they model the data. They don't really want you to then back it out to figure out how they're modeling the data, because that's a bonus upsell for them. Yep.
All right, over here.
Hi, thank you for the speaking. From your daily work, how accurate you see GA4 versus Universal? Because here in Spain, for example, during the last year, we had consent mode and also the cookie law adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
So many people was complaining about GA4 was measuring worse from the reality, but from my point of view, consider what I've done with the clients,
Mm-hmm.
I see that we have evolved for better. So what's your point of view from reality, GA4 versus Universal?
Oh, I mean, everybody's going to have their very strong opinions on this one. If you couldn't hear the question, it's essentially what's my opinion of GA4 versus UA data for data accuracy, consistency, everything. I think, honestly, it really comes down to implementation. A lot of people who are comparing UA data to GA4 data probably have a really poor UA setup to begin with because they haven't paid attention to it in years, and so it's really comparing apples to oranges. That being said, I think that most things in GA4 have been built in a way that is really thoughtful for how the industry is changing, for how cookies are going away, for making it much more future-proof. So I would put my bet on GA4 data being much more stable for the long term. That being said, of course, you're going to see differences between the two, and you kind of have to make that decision for your organization if those are acceptable or not. If it's 5-10% difference, it's probably within a reasonable expectation. If your GA4 data is like 50% or 100% different than your UA data, you should probably take a look at your implementation because something sounds off there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
¿Alguien más?
Fuerte
Any other
aplauso para
questions?
Krista.
Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Stay on the beach, the place to be.